Welcome to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sky, and I'm going to be looking at each class in depth for Diablo 4 and answering a very simple question. Is it for you? And in today's video, we have the Druid. We're going to be going over the strengths of the Druid and what makes them strong overall. Their class-specific mechanic, skills and abilities, as well as showing animations for some of them. Their super powerful ultimate skills in action, legendary aspects that we have released to us at the moment, and finally wrapping it all up with a quick summary of the class overall. Hopefully by doing so, we can steer you in the right direction to selecting a class that truly resonates with you. And don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, we are also doing a giveaway for a free copy of Diablo 4, so to enter yourself, all you have to do is be subscribed and follow the link in the description below. Druids are savage shapeshifters who fluidly transform between werewolf, werebear, and human form to unleash a cataclysm of nature's fury on the forces of the burning hell. They also command the power of the earth, wind, and storm, unleashing nature's wrath to devastating effect. Starting things off with the strengths of the Druid. The Druid deals a variety of damage, whether it be from melee or ranged combat. They're incredibly versatile in their build options. Very strong area of effect damage. Has multiple roars for buffs and debuffs for their party as well. Okay, so as of right now, one of the only things that hasn't been completely revealed is the Druid class mechanic. But we do have some details on a very powerful Druid class only passive, which is the Druid has a chance to deal crushing blows with any earth skills, reducing the enemy's life by a flat percentage of their total health, although its effect against bosses and other players is reduced. Every class has basic skills, defensive skills, and ultimate skills, but the Druid has some unique skills that only they possess as well, and these are Spirit, Companion, and Wrath skills. The Druid's basic skills are going to be primarily used as a filler, as well as a way to generate Spirit. These skills are Earth Spike, Shred, Storm Strike, Wind Shear, and Maul. You will more than likely select one of these depending on the type of Druid and playstyle you are going to be playing. Moving on to the core skills, where they cost Spirit, and like basic skills, you're most likely going to select the corresponding one to your build type. There are 3 different types of core skills that you can use, and these are Pulverize, where you shapeshift into a werebear and slam the ground, dealing damage to nearby enemies. Landslide, where you crush enemies between 3 pillars of earth, dealing damage. And Tornado, where you conjure a vortex that moves outward slowly and curves in a random direction, dealing damage every second. You start to notice that there is a trend of damage selection as you play the Druid, whether it be more focused on melee, ranged combat, or a bit of both. Moving on to some defensive skills of the Druid, they have Cyclone Armor, which is a passive effect that powerful winds protect you, granting range damage reduction, and also, when an enemy in melee range hits you, there is a chance for the winds to knock them backward. Next up, you have Earthen Bulwark, where rocks surround you for 3 seconds, making you unstoppable and absorbing damage, and upon expiration, the rocks shatter, dealing damage to nearby enemies. After that, you have Trample, where you rush forward as a werebear, dealing damage and stunning enemies for 1.6 seconds, which is also great for some more mobility as well. You have Debilitating Roar, where you shapeshift into a werebear and bellow with ferocity, reducing the attack speed of nearby enemies by 22% for 5 seconds. In our last defensive skill, you have Ravenous Bite, where you shapeshift into a werewolf and tear an enemy's flesh, dealing damage and healing you for a flat amount. Moving on to our next set of skills, Companion skills, which are one of the Druid's unique skills. And what we know so far are wolves. Summon 2 wolves that are under your direct control that are passively just out with you during combat. Next up, you have ravens, where it has 2 effects. One of them is a passive effect where the ravens fly above you, attacking nearby enemies passively. But you could also activate the spell to target a certain area for heavy damage for 6 seconds and making the enemies vulnerable. Last up, you have Vine Creeper, where it has 2 effects as well. A Vine Creeper periodically emerges from the ground and poisons a nearby target enemy for damage over time. But if you activate it, vines strangle enemies in a targeted area, poisoning them for damage over 6 seconds and stunning them for 2. Moving on to our next set of skills is going to be the Mastery skills. The Druid Mastery skills are going to be some nice, hard-hitting AoE abilities that help you control the battlefield in certain areas. These skills are Hurricane, where you form a hurricane around you that deals damage to nearby enemies over 8 seconds. You have Boulder, which you unearth a large rolling boulder that knocks back enemies and crushes them, dealing damage with each hit. And it also has an additional 15% chance to deal a crushing blow. And everyone's favorite, we have the ultimate skills. And these are extremely powerful. Starting off, you have Cataclysm. A massive storm follows you around for 10 seconds, summoning tornadoes and knocking back enemies with lightning strikes for severe damage overall. Next up, you have Grisly Rage, where you shapeshift into a werebear for 5 seconds, and you're granted new werebear abilities and skills, and you generate your spirit 28% faster. You are also unstoppable while Grisly Rage is active as well. Lastly, you have Petrify, where you petrify all nearby enemies, stunning them for 5 seconds, but damage breaks this effect, and it also deals additional damage as well. I gotta say, in my opinion, the Druid has the most versatile skill kit in the entire game, with having access to really all forms of damage types and heavy build variety. Next up, we have a first look at some of the Druid's legendary aspects, and some of them can be pretty familiar as we have seen them in past games. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, each power has to be unlocked by completing a specific dungeon once, and always comes with their minimum value if they have a dynamic value. Starting off with defensive, you have Aspect of Cyclonic Force. Cyclone Armor also provides physical damage reduction, and in addition, Cyclone Armor will be applied to all nearby allies, giving you a nice support tool. Next up, you have Aspect of Mending Stone. The duration of Earthen Bulwark is increased by 6 seconds, and in addition, killing an enemy with Earth skills replenishes a certain flat amount of your active Earthen Bulwark's barrier. After that, you have Skinwalker's Aspect, where whenever you use a shapeshifting skill that changes your form, gain a flat amount of health. If you're at full health, gain the same amount as Fortify. Next, we have Stalking Beast Aspect, where you gain stealth for 2 seconds when killing enemies with Shred. Breaking stealth when attacked grants Ambush, which guarantees critical strikes for 1 second. And lastly, we have Vigorous Aspect, where you gain 10% damage reduction while shapeshift into a werewolf. Moving on to offensive, you have Crashstone Aspect, where Earth skills deal 40% more critical strike damage to crowd-controlled enemies. After that, we have Night Howler's Aspect, where Blood Howl increases critical strike chance by 5%. And in addition, Blood Howl also affects nearby companions and players for 3 seconds. Moving along, we have Overcharge Aspect, which Lucky Hit up to 10% chance when dealing lightning damage to overload the target for 3 seconds, causing any direct damage you deal to them to pulse for additional damage to surrounding enemies. After that, we have Aspect of the Rampaging Werebeast, where the duration of Grizzly Rage is increased by 1 second, and in addition, critical strikes while Grizzly Rage is active increases your critical strike damage by 10% for the duration. Next up, we have Aspect of Retaliation. Your core skills deal up to 20% increased damage based on your percent fortified health. After that, we had Shepherd's Aspect, where your core skills deal an additional 6% damage for each active companion. Then we have Aspect of the Tempest, where your hurricane damage is increased by a percentage each second while active. And lastly, we have Aspect of the Ursine Horror. Pulverize is now also an Earth skill. After casting Pulverize, Tectonic Spike continue to deal damage over 2 seconds. Next up, we have Resource, with Aspect of the Changeling's Dead. Werebear skills restore 1 spirit when you hit enemies affected by your poisons, and when spirit is restored, your poison effects are removed from the enemy. Mangled Aspect, where you gain 1 spirit when you are struck as a werebear. Storm Beast Aspects, where Lucky Hit Storm skills have up to a 15% chance to grant you 10 spirit, and also your base Storm skills are now also werewolf skills. Lastly, you have Aspect of the Unsatiated. After killing an enemy with Shred, your next werewolf skill generates 20% more spirit and deals 20% increased damage. Moving on to utility, we have Ballistic Aspect. When you have Fortified Life, your Earth skills gain +3. After this, we have Aspect of Quicksand, where damage from your Earth skills slow enemies by 25% for 5 seconds. And lastly, we have Storm Shifter's Aspect. While Hurricane is active, gain +3 to your shapeshifting skills. To wrap it up, ladies and gentlemen, if you love a class with huge versatility and incredible class fantasy, I mean, there would be no better option than the Druid at this point. Having the ability to be a hybrid between melee and range DPS, bring more support and utility, and it's really just a jack of all trades. A quick summary is that a Druid deals physical, lightning, and poison damage with their attacks. Spirit is their primary resource, and they have incredibly powerful abilities overall, but most of them have longer cooldowns, so proper usage is vital. Crushing Blows is the unique class mechanic, which makes you a vital party member for really almost any group comp. And lastly, the Druid is incredibly fun to play, and skills and abilities feel very impactful. Now you know just about everything that we have been shown so far about the Druid, and there's really only one question left to answer. Is it for you? Let us know in the comment section below, as we would love to talk with you all. I want to thank you all so much for watching this video, and until the very end, my name's Sky from the Comeback Kids, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace!